The Flight into Egypt, a Ballad, by Francis Mahoney, Father Prout. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 4, The Higher Life, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter as the narrator,
Sonia as the gypsy,
and Craig Franklin as Joseph.
The Flight into Egypt, a Ballad. There's a legend that's told of a gypsy who dwelt in the lands where the pyramids be, and her robe was embroidered with stars, and her belt with devices right wondrous to see. And she lived in the days when our Lord was a child on his mother's immaculate breast. When he fled from his foes, when to Egypt exiled, he went down with Saint Joseph the Blessed. This Egyptian held converse with magic, methinks, and the future was given to her gaze, for an obelisk marked her abode, and a sphinx on her threshold kept vigil always. She was pensive and ever alone, nor was seen in the haunts of the dissolute crowd, but communed with the ghosts of the Pharaohs, I ween, or with visitors wrapped in a shroud. And there came an old man from the desert one day, with a maid on a mule by that road, and a child on her bosom reclined, and the way led them straight to the gypsy's abode. And they seemed to have travelled a wearisome path, from thence many, many a league, from a tyrant's pursuit, from an enemy's wrath, spent with toil, and o'ercome with fatigue. And the gypsy came forth from her dwelling, and prayed that the pilgrims would rest them awhile, and she offered her couch to that delicate maid, who had come many, many a mile. And she fondled the babe with affection's caress, and she begged the old man would repose.
"Here the stranger,"
she said,
"ever finds free access, and the wanderer balm for his woes."
Then her guests from the glare of the noonday she led to a seat in her grotto so cool, where she spread them a banquet of fruits, and a shed, with a manger, was found for the mule. With the wine of the palm tree, with dates newly culled, all the toil of the day she beguiled, and with song in a language mysterious she lulled on her bosom the wayfaring child. When the gypsy anon, in her Ethiop hand, took the infant's diminutive palm, oh, 'twas fearful to see how the features she scanned of the babe in his slumber so calm. Well she noted each mark and each furrow that crossed o'er the tracings of destiny's line.
"Whence came ye?"
she cried, in astonishment lost.
"For this child is of lineage divine."
"From the village of Nazareth,"
Joseph replied,
"where we dwelt in the land of the Jew. We have fled from a tyrant whose garment is dyed in the gore of the children he slew. We were told to remain till an angel's command should appoint us the hour to return. But till then we inhabit the foreigner's land, and in Egypt we make our sojourn."
"Then ye tarry with me,"
cried the gypsy in joy,
"and ye make of my dwelling your home. Many years have I prayed that the Israelite boy, blessed hope of the Gentiles, would come."
and she kissed both the feet of the infant and knelt, and adored him at once. Then a smile lit the face of his mother, who cheerfully dwelt with her host on the bank of the Nile.
Cana by James Freeman Clarke. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 4, The Higher Life, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Cana. Dear friend, whose presence in the house, whose gracious word benign, could once, at Cana's wedding feast, change water into wine. Come visit us, and when dull work grows weary, line on line, revive our souls, and let us see life's water turn to wine. Gay mirth shall deepen into joy, earth's hopes grow half divine, when Jesus visits us to make life's water glow as wine. The social talk, the evening fire, the homely household shrine, grow bright with angel visits when the Lord pours out the wine. For when self seeking turns to love, not knowing mine nor thine, the miracle again is wrought, and water turned to wine. THE LOST SHEEP, The 90 by Elizabeth Cecilia Clephane, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 4, The Higher Life, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia as the narrator,
Tomas Peter as the flock,
Jason in Canada as the shepherd,
and Leanne as the angels.
The Lost Sheep, The 90. There were 99 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold, but one was out on the hills away, far off from the gates of gold, away on the mountain wild and bare, away from the tender shepherd's care.
Lord, thou hast here thy 99. Are they not enough for thee?
But the shepherd made answer,
"'Tis of mine has wandered away from me, and although the road be rough and steep, I go to the desert to find my sheep."
But none of the ransomed ever knew how deep were the waters crossed, nor how dark was the night that the Lord passed through ere he found his sheep that was lost. Out in the desert he heard its cry, sick and helpless and ready to die.
Lord, whence are those blood drops all the way that mark out the mountain track?
They were shed for one who had gone astray, ere the shepherd could bring him back.
Lord, whence are thy hands so rent and torn?
They are pierced tonight by many a thorn.
But all through the mountains, thunder riven, and up from the rocky steep, there rose a cry to the gate of heaven,
"Rejoice! I have found my sheep."
and the angels echoed around the throne,
Rejoice, for the Lord brings back his own.
The Sheepfold by Sarah Pratt McLean Greene, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 4, The Higher Life, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter as the narrator,
Jason in Canada as the master,
and Craig Franklin as the shepherd.
The Sheepfold. The master of the sheepfold, that guards the sheepfold bin, look out in the gloomering meadows, where the long night rain begin. So he called to the hireling shepherd,
"Is my sheep, is they all come in?"
"Oh then," says the hireling shepherd,
There's some days black and thin, and some days poor overwedders, but the rest days all brung in,
Then the master of the sheepfold, that guards the sheepfold bin, goes down in the gloomering meadows, where the long night rain begin. So he let down the bass of the sheepfold, calling soft,
"Come in, come in,
calling soft.
come in, come in."
Then up through the gloomering meadows, through the cold night rain and wind, and up through the gloomering rain path, where the sleep far piercing thin, the poor lost sheep of the sheepfold, they all comes gathering in. The poor lost sheep of the sheepfold, they all comes gathering in.